Hey troops, this is Jeff Evely, Ops Sergeant-Major for Veterans for Freedom. I'm back with you now for a daily INSOM. There's a lot going on out in the world there today. I expect that Tom will be joining us here soon, but something has come up, so he's running a little bit late. We're going to go ahead and bash on without him for now. Lots going on in the world, so feel free to dump your questions in the chats. I'll try to keep an eye on them and get to them as we go. So without further ado, I thought I'd start us off with a little meme of the day. They're coming out now with respect to the FBI raid on Donald Trump's home in Mar-a-Lago. So things are heating up in the old memosphere. I'm not sure if these guys are just local sheriffs or something, and somebody's got FBI sort of photoshopped in there on their hats and on their uniforms. And here on the front of the table, we have the contents of Donald Trump's safe. So we got to make America great again hat, and looks like an empty, I assume a McDonald's hamburger bun, and we got the old golf club and some toilet paper. Right on. Also, we have an update from the Alex Jones trial here. Some good stuff. Okay, and here's a little something from our TikTok channel. That's Luann running that. And we have an update on Warrant Officer George Couture. It says that this past Sunday, George had gotten a haircut, a hot shave, and had his jacket pressed in preparation to head to the Legion on Monday to have a meal, a few beers, toast to the fallen comrades, and share stories with his fellow veterans. He was driven to his local Legion by his daughter Patricia and was pretty upset to find that the Legion was closed on D-Day. After speaking with George, he will be the first veteran to take part in Not on Our Watch, which focuses on veterans taking care of our fellow veterans in times of need. We believe this is our responsibility. And we got all the hashtags to go with it here. So here's a little something on George. And a second. Just want to make sure I got the audio in here, guys. I'm really bad for that. So that one there is getting a lot of traction over there on TikTok. I don't spend a lot of time on TikTok because it's a commie psyop, but if you're into that kind of thing, then please go on over to our channel there, Veterans for Freedom, and give us a share. Okay, and here's a little something from our favorite muckraker, Chris Dacey. He's on the scene there in Ottawa, and it looks like we have some developments that are pretty interesting. So here we go.
Hey, Dacey here. So I am at the United Peoples of Canada. So this is a church in downtown Ottawa. There's probably been a lot of talk. People may have seen online. Some local community members have voiced concern about this church and what's going on here. So I haven't been here yet. This is my first time, but I'm going to come and have a little look around and talk to some of the people here. Try to get a few more details about what this is. So here, I just got here, setting up bouncy castles. So this was a church that's been purchased by this group in downtown Ottawa. I'm just setting up some bouncy castles here. A slide. Got some volunteer vehicles here. We have a man here that can tell me a little more about it. There we go. Nice job, guys. Nice job. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. Chris,
Good to see you.
Yeah. So what do we got going on here?
Well, I'm Philip LaFleche. I'm a volunteer.
Yeah.
I started 7 days ago yesterday. 7 days ago yesterday, and we've been helping out. And what it is the United People of Canada it's an organization, and the whole idea is that this building is being repurposed.
Okay.
But instead of the building adapting to us, we're adapting to the building. So everything inside is going to remain original.
Okay.
There's going to be shared offices. There's a concert hall. There's a meeting. It's an old church, so there's definitely a church basement.
Do you guys have no sound?
A beautiful.
I'm getting the sound there. Somebody's saying they got no sound. Should be the default.
Meeting room. There's a small kitchen. We have access to all of the building.
Beautiful.
So we're going to be keeping it that way. But it's a community place. It's for everybody.
Yeah.
Whatever your political views, this is a free speech zone. Regardless of what you happen to believe, everybody gets to say whatever they want. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Within reason, of course.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
We are Canadian after all.
Yes,
right?
exactly. Yeah, yeah. Some polite public discourse would be nice.
Public discourse, okay?
Yeah.
What I'd really like to do is hook you up with William.
Yeah, wonderful.
Okay, he's on a call. As soon as he's free,
yeah, sure.
I'm going to hook you up.
Yeah.
Can we pause at this?
Yeah. So that's good. We'll just show the outside of the church here, and so I'm going to meet with some of the folks here. And we won't do that live, but I'll be doing more posting and tell a little bit more story about what's going on in this church here in Ottawa. It's being repurposed by a community group here, the United Peoples of Canada. So I will be back soon with some more details and maybe an up close look at this here church being converted. Talk to you soon. Daisy out.
All right, so we got some positive developments there. That's always good to see. And here's a little something that Daisy is tracking for the Ottawa Sun tomorrow front page. So he's going to be interviewing some of these people. And yeah, we just want to plug for Daisy because he's doing some great work out there. Community concerns grow over group with links to, quote, Freedom Convoy, close quote, starting own security force on page 8. So they have a private police. And I don't know, this looks like a Boy Scout of a guy here. So I don't know. We'll be interested to see what comes out of this. Okay, so here's the first story from our IntSum today. This is Metrolinx employees launched $2 million in claims over vaccine mandate and unpaid leave. So Metrolinx is the company that owns the GO train and the express train there in Toronto. And they're canceling trains right now due to staffing shortages. So it looks like the straw that's breaking the camel's back here is summer vacation, if you can imagine that. So yeah, we have a leadership and management crisis across the board here in Canada. These are basic functions of management, and they are not performing them. So let's get into the story here. At least a dozen of former Metrolinx employees have filed wrongful dismissal claims totaling over $2 million against the Crown Agency. Long-serving workers, including senior managers, were suspended without pay after refusing to comply with Metrolinx vaccine mandate. The employees are being represented by employment lawyers at Simferu Lamakiran LLP, including partner Stan Fainzelberg. Two of his clients, Michael Bogeus and Peter Rosinski, spoke to the Toronto Star about their situation. Bogeus was a 10-year Metrolinx employee who worked as a senior manager at the Union Station Rail Corridor. Rosinski, a 5-year employee who oversaw operations and commercial management for the company, argued that Metrolinx failed to provide any accommodation. The agency is also withholding 6 weeks of vacation pay that he has accumulated. So this failure to provide any accommodation is something that we see across the board as well. I just saw a leaked document from the military on that there recently, so you can expect to see more on that coming up in a podcast very soon. Why they filed claims against Metrolinx. In December 2021, the Metrolinx employees filed wrongful dismissal claims in Ontario against the transit agency after being placed on unpaid leaves absence. They were removed from their jobs by their employer after failing to fully vaccinate against COVID-19. The company's deadline was set for November 1st, 2021. Boguet, Rosinski, and their colleagues had been working remotely from home since the start of the pandemic. Unless there is a government mandate that specifically requires that employees be vaccinated against COVID-19, which hasn't happened for provincially regulated transit workers, it is illegal for an employer to change fundamental aspects, pay, duties, work, location, of an employee's job without their permission. This includes making vaccination a mandatory term for employment for someone whose contract does not require it. Additionally, an employer can't put someone on unpaid leave of absence for failing to comply with the mandate. An employee can treat the charge as a termination of their employment and claim full severance pay. An employer does have the option of firing an employee who refuses to get vaccinated, but the termination would not be for cause. It would be without severance and employment insurance unless the company was enforcing a government vaccine mandate. Therefore, the firing would be considered without cause, meaning that the employee would be owed as much as 24 months' pay, depending on various factors. Metrolinx has been allowing people to work from home continuously since March 2020, and all of a sudden, my clients are no longer allowed to work at all because they did not agree to the vaccine policy that was never, ever required of them in their contracts, said Heinzelberg. That is a very clear breach of their employment contract. Arbitrators, epidemiologists question mandates for remote workers. Yeah, no kidding. The Star's Jacob Lerink writes that recent labor ruling on a dispute between the Power Workers Union and the Electrical Safety Authority calls into question vaccine mandates for employees working remotely. The arbitrator said the province's Employment Standards Act could easily have made exceptions for remote workers. A reasonable, less intrusive alternative, such as a testing policy, would have been sufficient, wrote the arbitrator. Epidemiologist Colin Fernay with the University of Toronto told Rink he doesn't think that the vaccination should be a requirement for workers that aren't first responders. There's a middle ground where we make vaccine mandates permanent, but also non-punitive, where you need to accommodate workers who can work remotely, he said. Toxic work environment. Know all about that. Metrolinx told the Star that suspended workers will be allowed to return to their full-time positions once they are vaccinated. However, Heinzelberg told the Star that it's not realistic to expect these people to go back to this environment. It's a pretty toxic environment for them, he said, referencing the humiliation and the demoralization his clients have experienced, especially for those who have given Metrolinx years of loyal employment. Quote, to be put back in that workplace is only going to do more damage, close quote. Employment lawyers for wrongful dismissal. The employment lawyer, Samfiro Tamarkin, LLP, have decades of experience securing compensation for tens of thousands of non-unionized employees who have lost their jobs. As Canada's largest employee-side law firm, we have helped countless individuals navigate terminations in the years leading up to the pandemic as a relative impact from COVID-19, and in response to the latest turmoil afflicting the global economy. We are the employment law of choice for individuals working in Ontario, Alberta, and British Columbia. And you got to contact our team down here today. So anybody who's out there looking for somebody who's doing this sort of thing, you can get in touch with these guys here. So yeah, I really see all of this stuff coming to fruition. Like, it's not going to be good. And we have a situation like, across the board, really, where we have emergency workers, we have nurses, we have military personnel who've all been forced out and oppressed, and they're demoralized, and chances are they're not going back. Like, who wants to work in a toxic work environment? I mean, that's no way to spend your life. So yeah, I saw kind of a lot of this coming during my last months in the military. I actually was extremely fortunate, and my medical release came through in September, the month before the mandates actually came into effect. So I just barely made it out of there, but my heart goes out to anybody who got stuck in that whole mess. And a little punch in the arm for everybody out there who's keeping up the good fight in that institution right now. Whoever's left, I know that there are a few people I know who've been managing that turmoil very well and being able to steer clear of the killer jab. But they're not making it easy. So it's really taken a toll. And I think at the end of the day, we, the taxpayer, are going to be the ones on the hook for it, because once these lawsuits start getting paid out, all the people who made these decisions, well, they're essentially indemnified, because they're bureaucrats, autocrats, and you can't sue bureaucrats. You can only sue the government, i.e., the taxpayer. So, this doesn't really seem to be going anywhere good. I'm not saying people shouldn't seek compensation or that it's not owed, but it's a really sad state of affairs right now, because we're still going to be the ones paying for it. Okay, on to the next one. Oh, we got a Vistaprint ad here too, and I just got my banner here for Veterans for Freedom came in the mail today, so I'm pretty excited about that. It doesn't take much to get me excited these days, all right, so here we have an article about a teacher in California who's recruiting for Antifa, using his classroom to do that. So he's got a very captive audience, in the literal sense, and it's just child abuse. I mean, come on, guys, you can't be, indoctrinating children. You're not paid to preach, you're paid to teach. So all of this stuff is really unprecedented, and we got to keep a close eye on these things, because it's pretty clear that we got to clean up the ranks out there. So California high school teacher who pledged allegiance to Antifa and said he wanted to turn students into, quote, revolutionaries, is given 3 years to pay 3 years pay to resign. Instructor hung Mao Zedong poster in classroom and gave his kids Kim Jong-un stamps. Yeah, he sounds like a really stable individual. I like these guys here, the Daily Mail, because they kind of put all these bullet points, right below the headline, so you can do the quick skim and see if you want to do the deep dive by reading the rest of the article. But anyway, it says, parents at Intercom High School in Sacramento called on the district to fire AP government teacher Gabriel Geip. He was caught on video in September discussing the Antifa flag with Project Veritas, a far-right media group. We love those guys. I have an Antifa flag on my classroom wall, and a student complained about that. He said it made him feel uncomfortable, he said. Quote, well, this Antifa flag is meant to make fascists feel uncomfortable. So if you feel uncomfortable, I don't really know what to tell you. It's a great thing to say to a kid. Nice little bit of gaslighting there. Quote, I have 180 days to turn students into revolutionaries, close quote. He was also caught on video saying, at the time, he was put on unpaid leave and was set to be fired by the school district for, quote, clear violations of political activity. In January, about 4 months later, the school district officials paid Geip $190,000 to quit without a legal battle. So I don't think that they would be treating it that way had he been recruiting for somebody on the right side of the aisle. I think this would have been handled a lot more sternly if that were the case. I'm pretty sure I don't need to tell this audience that. Okay, so it says, a California teacher who displayed an Antifa flag in his classroom said he wanted to turn his students into revolutionaries. He's receiving 3 years of salary in exchange for his resignation. Parents at Intercom High School in Sacramento had called on the district to fire AP government teacher Gabriel Geip after he was caught on video in September discussing the flag with Project Veritas. I have an Antifa flag in my classroom. Oh, we read that already. So here's a picture of this guy. He's got the hammer and sickle on his tank top. He's got a bunch of gross, cheap tattoos and some funny glasses. And, we can pretty much see what's going on, I think, here. Right, ladies? I mean, you got to get the boys away from the soy. Look at this. This is where the soy goes, right here, right in the moobs. These guys don't hit the gym. These Antifa guys, they kind of go around just bullying citizens, and the cops won't do anything about it, of course. We had a problem with so-called Newfoundland Antifa going after James Top online and stuff like that, and we're hearing rumblings about PEI Antifa now. I haven't heard anything about Cape Breton Antifa yet, but I'm watching out for that because that's where I hang my hat. Anyway, these guys are basically the CBC in Canada, antihate.ca there. They're They're kind of a not-for-profit that gets a bunch of government money to go after anybody who doesn't toe the leftist line in Canada. You know, we're seeing a lot of that around James Top right now. So, you know, we'd appreciate a little bit of top cover online for any keyboard warriors out there. Keep an eye on that. Anyway, this is basically just kind of a repeat of what we already saw in the bullets. But you can see he's got his legit Antifa flag there. There's Mao Zedong on the wall. That guy murdered anywhere from 60 to 80 million people, 80 million of his own people. Probably the most prolific, what would you call a democider? I don't know. But anyway, yeah, he committed democide against his own people, and to usher in the great leap forward, which seems to be the kind of thing that we're all about these days in Canada. It doesn't go anywhere good, folks. So here he is here. I'm not going to really bother with the video because it's about 12 minutes long. But if you're not aware of Project Veritas, you'll want to keep an eye on them. They're doing some great work out there. ACAB, that means all cops are bastards. And he's got like a F the police. I think it looks like it's been censored. Yep. So real class act we got here going around in our classrooms, but that's a sign of the times, I'm afraid. So here's another one of these websites that I like because they put a good set of bullets there right below the article, or right below the headline. So this is oilprice.com. It says Europe's energy crisis spills over into food. Excessively high energy prices are pushing food prices across Europe. Bloomberg noted that the inflation in the UK is seen topping 13% this year. Food processors are struggling to cope with the effects of rising energy prices and possible rationing. Yeah, so that's where we're headed with a lot of this stuff when we're talking about, you know, imposing stricter regulations around the use of nitrogen on farms, which I believe is the result they have to do in order to stay afloat because of all the other regulations that they're under. And it's not going anywhere good. So, well, we saw what happened in Sri Lanka. They did the same WEF con op there, concept of operations, and we saw where that goes already. So excessively high energy prices in Europe are pushing up prices of everything that energy is used for, including food, a trend that will likely feed further inflation. In a report on the topic, Bloomberg noted that the inflation in the UK is seen topping 13% this year, with a third of households having to spend over 10% of their income on energy. In continental Europe, things are not much different as gas prices break record after record. Quote, whether it is roasting coffee or making sugar from beets, companies are so far only talking about the increase in raw materials, close quote. Kona Hack, head of research for commodities firm ED&F Man, told Bloomberg, quote, I think the worst is still to come as energy prices rise. This winter will be a game changer and processing costs will likely go up, close quote. Quote, we are now beyond the limits of affordability for many industrial users, and we might see a recession alarms going off soon, close quote. Reset Energy senior analyst Kaushal Ramesh told the FT 2 weeks ago in comments on the last price surge in natural gas after Russia reduced flows via the Nord Stream 1 pipeline to 20%. So that was something that Donald Trump kind of called out the Germans on during his tenure there. He was saying, like, you shouldn't be signing these big energy deals with Russia because now you're dependent on them. And that's leverage, right? That's not only leverage, but that money is going to fund their subversive efforts on the West. So yeah, we can see a lot of wrong-headedness in leadership. You got to wonder who they're working for these days. But I digress. We'll continue with the article. Indeed, the Bloomberg report notes that excessive energy prices are forcing some vegetable oil producers to relocate their products outside Europe in search of lower energy costs. So that trend, we can expect to see that here as well, coming soon. It could get worse for food prices too if Europe has to resort to energy rationing in case of a shortage of natural gas and electricity in the winter. According to the Bloomberg report, some food factories may have to be shut down as governments prioritize household energy security. The food price crunch could be especially painful for Britons who were this month told by water utilities to switch from showers to wet towel wiping in order to save water. So yeah, everything is tanking, and it's got everything to do with the way things are being run right now. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a coincidence that all of these different governments are following the same con op, essentially. It was Majid Nawaz said it there recently. He's with Quilliam, and he's an Islamic reformer, pretty sharp guy, British guy who did a little bit of time in an Egyptian prison for terrorism, and now he's reformed. So he's got a lot of good stuff to say. Check him out. But Majid said recently that, yeah, he doesn't believe that every single government in the West is following the exact same disastrous policy by accident, or that it's all a coincidence. And he called it a global palace coup that's underway. So yeah, these kinds of discussions are going more or less mainstream these days. So don't shy away from them, folks. Now is the time to really engage. Okay, and we have True North reporting here. This is Rupa. What's Rupa's last name? Supermanio. Anyway, she's reporting for True North here, and this is a little something on the fight to end the mandates in court. So this is some good news for you guys. Here's Rupa.
Trudeau and company always claimed that they were following the science and the evidence, but we now know, at least for the travel mandate, that's simply not true. On August 2nd, I broke a story for Barry Wise's Common Sense, where I report on recently released court documents relating to a case challenging the federal travel vaccine mandate. These documents make it abundantly clear that the mandate was not motivated by the science. I encourage you to read the story for all the details, if you haven't already done so, by going to commonsense.news. So today I have three very special guests with me. I'd like to introduce you to the two plaintiffs in the case, Sean Rickard and Carl Harrison, and their attorney, Sam Presvelas. I'm delighted to have them on the show. Both Sean and Carl were born in the UK and came to Canada as immigrants many years ago. They're both entrepreneurs, and they were both pretty upset about the travel vaccine mandate. They felt it was unjust and wanted to challenge it in the courts rather than lying down and just accepting it. Sam is a Toronto-based attorney who is fast developing a reputation as one of the smartest and sharpest litigators in the city. He's only 30, if you can believe it, and he's already making waves in the legal community. So on that note, I'd like you to welcome Sean, Carl, and Sam to the show. Sean, Carl, and Sam, great to have you on my show. It truly is a privilege to have the three of you with me. I believe this is your first media appearance since the story broke. So I'm just delighted to have the three of you to talk about the case. I want to start with Sean and Carl. I want to ask you what motivated each of you to take on the Canadian government and challenge the vaccine mandate. I've written about this, and you also know this. Courts in Canada tend to be very deferential, and there's always this uphill David versus Goliath battle going on. So I'd love to know what motivated each of you, and how did you both get together in the first place? And if you could go into how the mandates also affected you personally, that would be great. So, Sean, if you want to start.
Yeah, I mean, I initially started, what sparked my anger and interest in this was initially when they started talking about the mandate. I like to travel, as most people do. I also have family in England. And the more they started to sort of that whole rhetoric about not being able to travel, get on a plane or a train, really concerned me. And I spent a lot of time in Cuba fishing and so on over the years. And to me, what they were going to be attempting to do kind of resembled that somewhat. I have friends in Cuba, and I see how they live and how they're not able to leave the country. And it really terrified me, and it angered me. So I initially started reaching out to a few politicians and one of them being Roman Baba. And to keep the story short, I had a conversation with Roman. He was very helpful, very nice man, very supportive, and we had a great chat. And he then put me in touch, or he gave me the contact information for Sam, who we knew. So right after my conversation with Roman, I contacted Sam. We kind of hit it off right off the bat, and Sam was as passionate about this as I was, and we kind of back and forth a little bit on a strategy and how we might do this, knowing that we would need to raise money to go to court in Canada, as you know, and the federal courts is very expensive. Even with Sam's reduced rates, it's a costly process. So I immediately, after I got off the phone with Sam, started at that point a GoFundMe fundraiser, and I think within a few weeks we'd raised about $14,000. And I was promoting it primarily through Twitter at that point. As soon as I started making traction on Twitter, for some reason, Twitter canceled my account. I'm still permanently banned from Twitter. I have no account there, and the same with LinkedIn. But long story short, I got chatting with people online. A lot of people were very supportive. My followers grew very quickly on Twitter, like ridiculously quickly. I went from like 4 followers, and in 6 weeks I had 7.8 thousand followers, and then my account crashed. But during that time, Carl actually reached out to me through Twitter, and then a lot of people were doing so at the time because of what we were doing. Everyone was worried what was going to happen. You know, if they're not vaccinated, they're not going to be able to leave the country, travel across the country, visit, sick relatives or whatever. And Carl and I got talking, and we eventually, I think it was like we back and forth, I think about 3 times, Carl, on Twitter, right? Through messaging before they got rid of my account. And then we set up a Zoom call with Sam, and we all hit it off. And Carl had very kindly agreed to help us finance the case as well. So we, at that moment, again, it was just like a natural, it was a meant to be moment where we all came together and we went off on this journey. And within 2 weeks, we had filed the application with the federal court on December 24th, 2021. And then I'll let Carl tell the rest of the story.
Okay.
No. Yeah, I mean, my interest in this kind of probably started in the summer of 2021. Previously in the spring, we'd heard the Prime Minister using the language you'd expect, right? Regarding the vaccines, and that, if you were a Canadian and you wanted one, there'd be a vaccine for you. And that sounded like normal language to me. As soon as it got to the declaration, the dissolution of Parliament and the start of the election campaign in the summer of 2021, then the language just pivoted. It pivoted 180 degrees and suddenly became very hostile towards Canadians who had probably relied on the earlier words he'd said and had made their choice, and they maybe were not sure yet about having the injections, or maybe didn't want to at all for whatever reason. And suddenly these people became people that no other Canadian would want to sit next to on an aircraft, and the language became very hostile. There were a couple of speeches I noticed he did on the stump when he was out campaigning. And coming from Europe, we've kind of heard this sort of language before from leaders there. This, you don't expect to hear it from a Canadian Prime Minister, I don't think. I think that was the first shock that really, rattled me, was hearing those words come out of the mouth of the Canadian Prime Minister, that sort of hostility. Whether it was a campaign tactic or whatever, I don't know. But anyway, he decided to do that and did it. And I thought, well, this sounds like a very bad idea that they're going to bring in. So my attention was up. And then when they brought it in, I think October, November of 2021, then clearly it was, you have 3 choices, and you with these political policies that attacking and hostile political policies, you can either accept them, you can fight against them, or you can leave, run away. Maybe there's a blend of those, but I thought, well, brought my family to Canada. I fell in love with Canada in the 1990s, and I brought my family to Canada 10 years later. Didn't see any reason I should be running away. I'm not prepared to accept that kind of blatant discrimination against Canadians, including myself. So the option you have is to do something and fight. And we're not in the political sphere. Direct action and protesting is another one. You join in with everybody else and do that. But some form of legal action is the third strand of that. So I thought, well, I've done that before. I've taken legal action before in not same circumstances, but have some experience. So I thought at least I can bring that. Now on Twitter, I saw Sean's words, and his words resonated very much with me. At that point, I didn't know he was an ex-Brit.
Well, I'm actually, just to clarify, I'm still a Brit. I'm a permanent resident here.
Oh,
So I've been here 35 years. I'm actually, I probably shouldn't say this because they might kibosh this for me, but my citizenship is actually in process right now. So I'm a British citizen and a permanent resident. Carl's, you're dual citizenship.
Yeah, I became a citizen of Canada in 2015. 2015, yeah. So I saw Sean's and reached out to Sean, and I thought, well, this guy seems to be doing something really positive, and I'm going to reach out and see if I can add to that. And see what I can bring that's useful and helpful. So that's how I got involved with Sean, and that was how I started. My interest came from through Sean. I mean. I met Sam, and I got to say this. I mean, we hear the Prime Minister use words. He's used the stepped up phrase. God knows how many times. All the time. He's used that about people stepping up, and Sam was at that time one of the few lawyers I'd seen that had stepped up, and I was really impressed with that. And we all got on well very quickly.
Yeah, I can see that in my interactions with the three
so
of you.
That's how I got involved. I offered to finance it with him. And,
So there's another great story coming out from Rupa, and I'll let you guys go over to True North to check out the rest of that. But as you can see, things are moving forward. Okay, I know there's a lot of frustration in the movement right now. I've been hearing a lot about, nothing's happening. And I kind of see that as a bit of a failure on my part. I should probably do more to highlight our successes instead of putting all the negative stuff out all the time. But, I'm a warrior, so I'm always looking for a fight. We're going to try and do that a little bit more around here. Like we have our honorary colonels, constitutional challenge going through, the charter challenge of Brian Peckford. That's starting to bear fruit. We're seeing the cross-examination of some of the public health officers where they're just sort of crumbling on the stand. They don't seem to have any empirical reasons to justify any of these mandates. So it's all coming out. It's going to take time, though. The last thing anybody should be doing right now is acting out of anger or fear, because if you do that, then you will live to regret it. I think we'll try and do a better job of that around here, just highlighting a lot of our successes and showing people where things are going from our side, because it's not like you're going to get it from the mainstream, right? I think it's going to be interesting this fall. It's pretty tough to say one way or the other which way we're going to go, I think, but that probably puts us in a more optimistic position than a lot of other countries in the West. So, I just want to highlight that room for optimism there. And I'll throw to a comment. Let me see. Okay, so Randy's saying, there's more to the story of staff shortages than just the vaccine mandates. It's also employment equity and quotas. There was an article in the National Post today discussing it in relation to the CRTC. So I wasn't aware of that. Thanks for highlighting that for us, Randy. And what I'll say about that is, I think that I think I know what you're talking about, because it's really just kind of one of those things it's a rumor, but it's a very strong rumor in the CAF that I hear from people around my age that their kids, you know, they're going to the recruiting centers, and they're not being told point blank that because they're white guys, they gotta wait until they fill up the quotas for all the other ethnic minorities and whatever diversity cards they're looking for on a given day. But that is what's happening, and it's sort of an open secret, I think, in the military, that yeah, they're discriminating against our kids who are interested in service, who've, you know, they're base brats their whole lives and whatnot, and yeah, they're white, but they have to wait in the back of the line until the CAF gets all their quotas to, because it really is at this point in time, the Canadian military is pretend, you know, it's just there for optics, you know, it's a prop in this kabuki theater that we have in place of our country right now. So yeah, that's what everything's all about, kind of behind the scenes in the military right now. And I wouldn't be the least bit surprised to find out that, you know, another government agency like the CRTC is in the same business. So I'm going to stop that for 1 second here. And I saw a comment earlier. You guys didn't get the sound on the Alex Jones clip, and I wouldn't want you to miss out on that. So here's another attempt to operate StreamYard. I was in technology for 20 years. All right. This is the mic drop moment from the Alex Jones trial. I'll give a shout out to Scott Spittle. He's a very close friend and ally of V4F, and a good personal friend of mine. He's a great guy. So anyway, here's the mic drop moment from Alex Jones.
One of the things you've been talking about on your show is your allegation that government officials are aiding in pedophilia, child trafficking, and the grooming of children, right?
You mean like what Jeffrey Epstein did with the Clintons?
All right, props to Alex for that one. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. It's really terrible what they're doing to Alex Jones down there, and they have been doing for a number of years. I mean, all the big platforms, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, which I like to call Twitface. They all deplatformed him at the exact same time, and oh no, it was just a coincidence. There was no coordination, and geez, they got the guy on trial for what? For criticizing the Clintons, for maybe engaging in some conjecture, but he's got a stronger record of being right than the mainstream media. So there's that to consider. That's the context that all this is happening in. But you know, I think I have a lot of confidence in Alex to be able to navigate this. He's very low on the BS scale, you know, when it comes to. I don't think he's going to be very easy to push around, and he's pretty candid, you know, and I've seen him a few times. I never followed his career closely. I knew he was out there, and I saw some of his early stuff when he was following the boomers around in Bohemian Grove while they were, you know, whatever they were doing. They were worshiping the giant owl statue there, wearing the robes and saying, oh, yeah, no, that was just a bunch of fraternity stuff. And they're like, yeah, whatever, you creeps. Yeah, I never really followed his show closely. I find, you know, he's a very Christian guy, and I'm a very secular guy, and he's very evocative of a lot of biblical scripture and stuff like that. And so it's just kind of not my thing. But I really respect what he does, and I think he's actually quite smart, and he's pretty funny. And that's kind of what I say we need to do to fight back against this, right? I engage in radical candor. You know, whatever it is that you know, you get that little bit of hesitation. You think, oh, I shouldn't say it like that. Just do it and have fun with it. And, you know, I think we're going to win this war with memes. The war is in the ideological battle space, and humor is an incredibly powerful tool when it comes to engaging in this kind of rhetorical battle. So, yeah, props to Alex Jones. I think he's going to come out of this okay. I'm really pulling for him, and I know he's a scrapper. Holy smokes, he's been doing this probably 20 years now. He's been just nonstop, balls to the wall. you know, scrapping it out with the most powerful people on the globe. So I'm going to be interested to see what comes out of that. And if anybody wants to send me some more clips, I'd be happy to show them during the show. But anyway, that's enough out of me for today, troops. Stay frosty and stay safe out there.